this presentation, you will learn about social exclusion. The objective of development is to create an enabling environment for people to enjoy a productive, healthy, and creative life. For this reason, it is important to address the issue of marginalization. Development is broadly understood in terms of mass participation. However, marginalization deprives a large section of society from participating in the development process. This is a complex and serious problem that needs to be tackled at the policy level. Social exclusion is a complex and multidimensional process. It means the lack of denial of resources, rights, goods, and services. It also involves the inability to participate in the normal relationships and activities available to the majority of people in a society, whether in economic, social, cultural, or political arenas. Social exclusion has detrimental effects on the quality of life of individuals and the equity and cohesion of society as a whole. Social exclusion is involuntary, that is, exclusion is practiced regardless of the wishes of those who are excluded. Social exclusion is sometimes wrongly justified by the same argument that the excluded group itself does not wish to participate. The truth of such logic is not obvious when exclusion is preventing access to something desirable. Sustainable development and social exclusion. Although there is no universally agreed definition or benchmark for social exclusion, lack of participation in society is at the heart of nearly all definitions put forth by scholars, government bodies, non-governmental organizations, and others. Enshrined in the Agenda 2030 of Sustainable Development Goals is the principle that every person should reap the benefits of prosperity and enjoy minimum standards of well-being. The aim is to free all nations and people and all segments of society from poverty and hunger, and to ensure healthy lives and access to education, modern energy, and information. If these goals are to be achieved, institutions will have to work for those who are deepest in poverty and most vulnerable. The Agenda 2030 has set broad targets aimed at promoting the rule of law, ensuring equal access to justice, and broadly fostering inclusive and participatory decision-making. When these goals and targets are effectively translated into action and properly benchmarked, they fulfill the goals of social inclusion processes. However, social inclusion encompasses a broader set of concerns than those reflected in the Sustainable Development Goals. Participation may be hindered when people lack access to material resources, including income, employment, land and housing, or to such services as education and healthcare, essential foundations of well-being that are captured in Agenda 2030. Yet participation is also limited when people cannot exercise their voice or interact with each other, and when their rights and dignity are not accorded equal respect and protection. Thus, social exclusion entails not only material deprivation but also lack of agency or control over important decisions, as well as feelings of alienation and inferiority. In nearly all countries, to varying degrees, age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, religion, migration status, socio-economic status, place of residence, and sexual orientation and gender identity have been grounds for social exclusion over time. Social exclusion and resources. A socially and economically marginalized group can be assessed by the level of participation and accessibility they have towards different resources available in a society. In every society, some people have a greater share and accessibility to different and varied valued resources such as money, property, education, health, and power than others. These social resources can be divided into three forms. These three forms are capital economy in the form of material assets and income, cultural capital such as educational qualifications and status, social capital in the form of networks of contacts and social associations, Often these three forms of capital overlap and one can be converted into the other. For instance, a person from a well-to-do family can afford expensive higher education and so can acquire cultural or educational capital. Patterns of unequal access to social resources are commonly called social inequality. Social inequality reflects innate differences between individuals, for example, their varying abilities and efforts. Someone may be endowed with exceptional intelligence or talent or may have wealth and status. However, by and large, social inequality is not the outcome of innate or natural differences between people, but is produced by the society in which they reside, which means that social inequality is structurally produced. Forms of social exclusion. Exclusionary processes can have various dimensions. Political exclusion includes the denial of citizenship rights such as political participation and right to organize, right to vote, right to electoral politics, and also of opportunity. Bhalla and Lapierre argue that political exclusion also includes the idea that the state, which guarantees basic rights and civil liberties to the individual, is not a neutral agency. Rather, it is a vehicle of a society's dominant classes and may use its agency to discriminate between social groups. Economic exclusion includes lack of access to labor markets, credit, and other forms of capital assets. Social exclusion may take the form of discrimination and includes a number of dimensions such as gender, ethnicity, class, and age. This reduces the opportunity for such groups to gain access to social welfare and puts a limit on their participation in the labor market. Cultural exclusion refers to the extent to which diverse values, norms, and ways of life are accepted and respected. The relationship between the categories is interconnected and overlapping. Given the complexity of influences of individuals, it is impossible to identify a single specific cause in the context of social exclusion. People may face exclusion because of deliberate action on the part of others or as a result of societal processes which do not involve deliberate action or sometimes even by choice. However, in most cases, social exclusion may be the major cause of poverty, suffering, and sometimes death. This may be attributed to the operations of unequal power relations. Thank you for watching the presentation. Do like, subscribe, share, and leave your comments about this presentation or any other topics you would like to learn more about.